I've got my eyes, Daryl, on week one. I think if you can't beat that defense, and if your offense with Joe Flacco and getting back to Stefanski ball can't look good against that Cincinnati Bengals defense, I don't know what we're signed up for the whole rest of the season. Like, that Bengals defense was like, that Bengals defense last year, had they been bad, the Bengals would have went to the playoffs. They were awful. And that was with Trey Hendrickson. Who's to say what happens now that Trey Hendrickson, maybe he plays week one, right? Maybe he says, look, all this I could put aside because I'm not going to sacrifice game checks because of this holdout situation. Right. We just don't know that yet. But even if he does play, how sharp is he going to be? Like, the Browns and their offense specifically have to look good week one.
Yeah, that has to be a situation where they take advantage of the opportunity, right? And look, Cincinnati is a team that, like, they're the only team in this division that the Browns have proven they can beat with some semblance of regularity, right?
Right.
I mean, which is still below 500, but the best record that the Browns have had within the AFC North since its inception in 2002, it's against the Cincinnati Bengals. The Steelers and the Ravens has just been a nightmare. Now, in recent years under Kevin Stefanski, the playing field's been leveled out. They've been splitting a lot with the Steelers and the Ravens. It'd be nice if we could get a sweep or two in there, but like the divisional play under Stefanski has improved exponentially from what we have been accustomed to seeing. But look, there is an opportunity for them to get off on a positive, because here's the thing with sports. You never know what can happen.
Yep.
Joe Flacco could go light it up in week one against Cincinnati. They could go to Baltimore and take that momentum. It's Flacco's first trip back to Baltimore since, I guess, leaving the Ravens or whatever, right? And the Ravens are going to be doing their, I call it the stick it to Cleveland celebration, right? Here's our Super Bowl championships. Here's our Hall of Famers and all that. Ha, ha, ha. We stole your team, all that kind of stuff, right? And the Browns could stick it to the Ravens and be 2-0. And then, okay, so what? You got Green Bay the following week. Here, you never know what can happen. Like, you never know what momentum can do for you and confidence can do for you. So, like, I'm being realistic. I think that they're at best a 6-win team this year, but you never know. Stranger things have happened. Teams come out of nowhere all the time. If the defense is able to stay healthy, and I know we're talking about ifs and buts and candy and nuts, but that's half the fun of the job here.
Dude, growing up in Cleveland especially, right? Like, my parents had season tickets really until I was probably like 14 or 15.
Right.
And my dad would convince himself every year. He would say every year, and it is true. I want to give my dad some credit here. But growing up, he would say every year, there's a mystery team. There's a surprise team that just shocks everybody. And it comes out of nowhere and they win 9 or 10 games and make a wild card. And every year he would say, couldn't that surprise team just be us? And I don't know that it is going to be us this year. I hope for my dad's case that it is. But you're right, Daryl. The one thing about momentum is if you could capture it, it's a fun thing. And it bears discussing and it bears talking about because there is precedent with momentum with this quarterback and this head coach together. Like, when I want to take people back to that 2023 season. Deshaun Watson had finally played his first acceptable game with the Cleveland Browns. And then that next morning we find out that he's out for the season.
Right.
And Dorian Thompson-Robinson goes in there, beats the Steelers. Okay, we've got hope. Goes in there against the Broncos, actually is playing decently, gets his bell rung, and we're thinking this season's over.
Right.
Because you've lost Deshaun, you've now lost DTR. Where are you going to go? There's this blurry photo that comes out on social media, and people kind of thought it was a joke. Like, Joe Flacco is going to really come in here off his couch and do what?
He was on the practice squad for a few weeks, too.
Dude, they were pretty much every week they were elevating him from the practice squad to the active roster to play in games. Like, and he was just able to stay hot in the middle of an NFL season, and look at how far they went. They were able to get to the playoffs, and that's something that this team hasn't been able to do a lot of. And we all remember how it ended, the back-to-back pick sixes in Houston, and that was really all on Joe. But you can't deny the fact that he was able to do what 38 other quarterbacks were unable to. It's him and Baker Mayfield since the team came back in 99 that they've been able to get this thing done.
Yeah, and just getting through the schedule with a singular quarterback has been a challenge. By the way, I'm brought to you by Scheib Jewelers, Cleveland's premier jewelry store. Thanks to those folks for their support over the years. Look, they have struggled on average to use 3 quarterbacks to get through a 16 or 17 game schedule. That is the average, and that's why I'm not really batting an eye at them keeping all 4 of these quarterbacks this year because, frankly, and I'm actually not being sarcastic when I say this, they're going to need all 4. We're going to see all 4 of these guys. Joe Flacco, I don't think he's going to start all 17 games. Keeping him healthy, winning at the level that's going to be required to keep him on the field, right? Because at some point, if it's not going well, whether he's healthy or not, they're just going to pull the plug and they're going to say, okay, let's see what Kenny Pickett has. Okay, we saw enough of Kenny Pickett. Now let's see what Dillon Gabriel has. Okay, now we've seen that. We're at the end of the season. It's late December. Everything is falling apart. And then, okay, fine, Shedeur Sanders, here's the mop and bucket. You get to clean up the rest of the season. And I don't know what kind of conclusions you're going to be able to draw from any of that. Right. And that's what folks have to understand. Yes, they have the 2 first-round picks next year. We are all assuming they're going to find a way to either use one or both to get into position to draft a quarterback in the first round. Still no guarantee that solves the problem by doing that. But at least, hey, you got to keep.
You're back at the well. You're back at the well.
You got to keep taking swings until you finally connect, right? And that's what they did with Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders. You got to keep taking swings, and maybe you connect, maybe you find something. I maintain it. If they're ever going to solve the great quarterback mystery here, I think it's going to be on accident. I don't think it's going to be with a first-round pick. I don't think it's going to be with another blockbuster trade and record contract. I think it's going to be a situation where they just dumb, stupid fall into it. I think that's the way it's going to have to happen for this to go where they need it to go. Because they've tried. Here's the thing. They have tried everything. They've tried the bridge quarterback. They've tried the washed-up veteran quarterback. They've tried the retreads. They've tried the trade up in the first round to get guys. They've tried trading for quarterbacks. They've done the mid-round and late-round guys, right? I mean, they've done it all when it comes to trying to find a quarterback. It's not for lack of effort. You don't go through 40 quarterbacks in 26 years on accident. Well, actually, in this case, yeah, I guess you kind of do.
They kind of did, yeah.
They kind of did, but you understand what I'm saying.
It wasn't a happy accident, though.
Right. It's not painful. For a lack of trying. They keep taking swings at this, and they keep missing. And the one time you thought that they might have found something with Baker Mayfield, there were just too many questions on and off the field with him and the investment that was going to be required to be made in him that they felt gun shy about it. And that's what ultimately led them down the path of Deshaun Watson. And that blew up spectacularly in their face.
Daryl, people were mad at me yesterday because I said that the winners from... You ready for my winners of the 2025 Cleveland Browns preseason?
Okay.
It's quite the list that I put together yesterday. But
people get distinguished. Here we go.
People were a little upset with me. Jamari Thrash, winner of the preseason.
Had a great preseason, had a great training camp. Where's the problem with that? He's going to make the team.
Aiden Huntington, winner of the preseason.
Made the team. Undrafted rookie free agent from Tulane. Was not really a thought for anyone going into camp to make the team. Maybe make his way to the practice squad. And Kevin Stefanski says after the game yesterday, yeah, he's going to make the rooster.
Now you're going to approve of this one. Corey Bojorquez.
Okay, huh? Why was he a winner?
He had some booming punts.
Well, he already was on the team, though.
He went viral a couple times.
His job was not in jeopardy. So I'm not going to approve of that one.
Okay, I just thought you would get excited about our punter.
Well, I'm over getting excited. I like Corey a lot. He's a great guy. I just don't get excited over punters anymore.
I have Carson Schwessinger as a winner of the preseason.
Yep, okay. Yep, I'll take that one. Looks like they got a hit there. Yeah, absolutely. Got a JOK replacement, which they desperately need. Fantastic preseason, fantastic training camp. Smart kid, making plays, making impact plays. And I have said for years and years, if the Browns are ever going to win this division, They need impact play from the linebacker position, regardless if that is a featured position, whether it's Jim Schwartz or any other defensive coordinator. Because we've had other defensive coordinators like, linebacker, it's important, but it's not like the centerpiece. The engine of Schwartz's defense is the defensive line, and it's the back end. It's the secondary, right? The linebackers kind of fill in the gaps, but I maintain, going to win this division, be competitive, you got to have impact linebacker play, and Schwessinger's showing me he could potentially be that guy.
Alrighty, another winner of the preseason from Nick Padone here, the defensive line.
Yeah, okay. I'll take that. Absolutely. Yep, they look pretty dominant, and hopefully be able to keep them in some games early in the season.
And then my last one. This is the one that people were a little upset with me about.
Not going to be Shedeur Sanders.
The 2026 NFL draft quarterback class. Winner of this 2025 Cleveland Browns preseason.
Ooh, that's harsh.
Because while Dillon Gabriel played well yesterday,
accurate but harsh,
and Shedeur Sanders played very well in Carolina and then very poorly yesterday.
Yeah.
I think what this preseason...
Yeah, but really, is that draft class a winner if one of them could end up with the Browns? Are they really winning at that point?
I think, but what this preseason told us was one of these guys, whether they want to be on the Browns or not, Arch Manning, somebody's going to land themselves a job in the first round of that draft next year. Kevin Stefanski said he expects Kenny Pickett's hamstring will be available for week 1. So he's still working through who will be the backup to Joe Flacco, but if Kenny Pickett and that hamstring injury are ready to rock.
So no injuries. So I had a theory that potentially one of the workarounds of this whole thing, right? Because I'm like a mad scientist sometimes when it comes to these roster decisions, trying to work through. Okay, they're going to keep 4 of these quarterbacks. Andrew Berry's made that very, very clear. But how could they do that? Could they trade? Could they trade Shedeur? Would they trade Kenny Pickett? Keep Tyler Huntley on the practice squad? 3 guys on the active roster? Could they put Kenny Pickett on injury reserve short term, 4 weeks? That buys them 4 weeks so that they could see where things go in the first month of the season and where they're these are all these the wheels are turning, right? The mice up there are getting a workout on the wheels between my ears, and then I'm just they're just going to keep 4 guys. It's going to make it real simple. All 4 guys on the active roster. It is what it is. Flacco 1, Pickett 2, Gabriel 3, Sanders 4, and pray you don't see number 4 at all this season. So that he can kind of develop and not have the spotlight on him while he's trying to develop.
So I have to imagine that Shedeur Sanders, at least for the first couple of weeks, is going to be a game day inactive. Dillon Gabriel will probably be that emergency third quarterback who will be inactive but then could suit up if both Pickett and Flacco go down, which really kills any chatter that we had all offseason long about the potential of these kids getting onto the field in short order. It is truly going to be Flacco, and if something happens with Flacco, Pickett's going to be up next because that's the guy that they like. And I think that is the one thing that gets lost in all of the people that think Pickett could be trade bait or that they could be...
Which, by the way, he still could be.
Still could be.
You could end up playing him. How about this for a scenario? All the mad scientists doing work now. How about this scenario, right?
But I think they like Kenny. I know they do, but
hang on. I have an idea. Joe starts, right? Kenny comes in for whatever reason, okay? Kenny comes in October for whatever reason. Starts a couple of games, plays well. Team needs a quarterback, gives the Browns a pick. They trade him at the trade deadline, and then go to Dillon Gabriel.
Where's Deshaun factor into this?
Well, I'm trying not to think about that.
Because the NFL...
crisis at a time.
The NFLPA is thinking about it.
No,
I'll tell you that. Yeah, they are. Because when he's medically cleared to play, they've got 2 options.
They're not under any obligation to play him.
Activate him or cut him. So they're going to activate him, and then that's eating up another roster spot. So then at some point...
Or they IR him. You just IR him.
Yeah, but that's where he's going to get mad. Well, no, I'm not hurt. I'm cleared. Can't IR me. I'm cleared. I want to play. NFLPA would boomerang in from wherever and be like, hey,
you know what Deshaun cares
guy
about?
wants to play.
He gets his $40 million. That's
that is true. I do wonder if
he's getting paid. That's what matters. He's getting his money either way.
Well, and speaking of trade guys, the trade candidates, though.
You can't trade him. He's untradeable.
You can trade anybody.
No, you can't. He is 100% untradeable. Myles Garrett
came calling?
100% untradeable. No, you can't trade him. The contract is untradeable.
I don't think he'd mind.
Of course he wouldn't mind. I'm just telling you. The mechanics of how the National Football League operate prohibit the Browns from moving that contract.
I'm just throwing out ideas. I know you're throwing out ideas because I don't think that I get to start the season. You could carry all four.
Yes, you're going. No, they can't. They are going to carry all four.
But there's
no can or can't about it. They're going to do it.
But I don't know that you can do that.
Yeah, you can. Why not?
All year long?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Deshaun.
So what? Dude, you got to understand, Andrew Berry does not look at this like it's a 53-man roster. He views roster construction through the lens of 53-man roster plus the practice squad, okay? That is how he views this. Okay, that's why when we're talking about Scott Petrak, by the way, if you missed it, go back on the free Odyssey app, rewind function. You can go back and listen to that conversation, High Noon with Scott Petrak, Lyric Chronicle Telegram, and brownzone.com. Like when we're talking with Scott, like he LeVarden, right? Okay, can he make the right? No, because it looks like that the 5-6 spots are spoken for, but he's a practice squad kid.
Right, and he could get elevated.
And you have those game day elevations and stuff. So, Andrew Berry does not view this just strictly as a 53-man roster. Yes, okay, he's got to get this thing down to 53 by 4 p.m. on Tuesday. He's actually going to have that done around 3 o'clock because you're going to hit the practice field in the 3 o'clock hour on Tuesday with that initial 53, right? And then we're really going to be paying attention to who's practicing, right? Is Denzel Ward going to be out there practicing? Ethan Posick, Blake Whitehart, all these guys that are banged up a little bit. We'll start paying attention to that stuff. But, Barry's looking at that 69-man roster. That's how he's viewing it because he's got those extra 16 spots to play with on the practice squad.
Whether it's 60-some man, 53-some man roster, whatever the case might be, we're going to burn 4 roster spots on quarterbacks. And
here's the question I have to ask you.
You and I are both saying that the franchise answer isn't on the roster currently.
That is correct.
And we're going to burn 4 roster spots, and none of these dudes are in.
What if I told you they might burn a 6th?
Probably will.
What are the odds we see Tyler Huntley back with the Browns at some point this year because they need an arm?
I mean, they clearly have his phone number. They've turned to him how many off seasons?
Remember, they went to camp. And this is what people have to understand. This is the challenge of being a Browns fan. So also the challenge of being the GM of the Browns. They went to training camp. Think about this. They went to training camp with 4 quarterbacks in an alleged, in air quotes, alleged 4-man quarterback competition, which really was a 3-man competition. Shedeur Sanders had no chance to win that job. Let's call it the way it is, right? So they go to camp with this alleged 4-man quarterback competition. They got through 2 whole weeks before 3 dudes got hurt. Shedeur got a sore shoulder. Kenny Pickett, Dillon Gabriel got hamstring injuries. They had to bring in Tyler Huntley. They had to bring in a 5th guy just to get through training camp in the preseason. So, riddle me this. If you already had to go through that just to get through camp in the preseason, what on earth do you think you're about to go through in the regular season? And this isn't me just, getting negative and I'm just asking, what do you think it's going to take for them to get through the regular season when they still have 17 of these things that they've got to play? So you're bemoaning, well, what are they I'll tell you what might happen with Deshaun. That dude might have to play. Right. Not because the Browns want him to play, just out of sheer necessity.
Right. I'm not bemoaning. I'm trying to prepare people as well. That
you're worried about extra roster. You know what the extra roster spot? The guy's going to be on IR. So somebody's going to be on injured reserve to make room for Deshaun Watson to be able to play a meaningless game in December for this team. Well, you wanted an answer. You don't like my answer. You asked the question. I gave you an answer. But my answer is not good enough for you?
I just really thought, and I should really be putting the blame on myself. I really should. I guess shame on me for thinking the fact that they were finally able to, quote unquote, move on from him. This was the offseason to do it. That he wasn't going to be around. He wasn't going to be healthy enough physically to play to start the season.
They're
and the fact
not
we're
moving
still
on from him until he's a June 1 cut in, hang on, I think 2027. They can't, to get out of this contract from a cap standpoint, they can't June 1 cut him until 2027.
I'm frustrated because I thought that they would give the fans who they tormented through this Deshaun Watson thing these last couple of years literally anything to enjoy or to hope or to hold on to. We got a Nike ad in the first preseason game for Shedeur Sanders.
By the way,
I'm fearful that might be all we get.
You got he has one half. He has one half of, and Nike's already putting out the legendary wrist up, and it's a demonstration. I'm not going wrist up before you say, but they do the wrist up. Yeah, you're right, and that might be the highlight of Shedeur Sanders' rookie season.
If Joe Flacco can't beat the teams that are in front of him. In 2023, he beat up the Chicago Bears, who were trying to lose that game so they could improve their draft position to take Caleb Williams. He beat two different backup quarterbacks.
Okay. Would you have rather he lost to the backup quarterbacks?
No, I'm glad that he won.
Should he have lost to the Bears? Should he have lost to the Houston Texans without C.J. Stroud and half their defense?
No, I'm glad that he won, Daryl. I'm trying to say.
I mean, he did lose to the Rams.
I'm trying to say if he did, right. So and the Rams were a good team that year.
I know.
So now that you've got 6 good teams to start the season, if he doesn't replicate some of that magic that I'm really hoping and I'm trying to build myself to be optimistic about, that we really have wasted yet another year of Miles, yet another year of you convinced Joel Bitonio to not retire.
Hang on. No,
we're not trying to just wander the desert of this quarterback thing for what? For 2026? Are we going to be sitting in the studio in November looking at mock drafts, just planting flags, debating? Could Arch Manning come out? Well, maybe he's got a good relationship with the Haslams and the family. Maybe they could convince him to come out. Drew Aller, the local kid, could he be the guy that turns it around? Garrett Nussmeier and Cade Klubnik will have people that plant their flags for one or another. Like, that's truly what we're going to do. You had an opportunity to give your fans this offseason literally anything to try to get excited about. And we're grasping at straws for a dude that took us on a magic carpet ride in 2023 we're trying to talk ourselves into.
2 things. One, they're not wasting Myles Garrett's time. He went from leaving mushroom clouds all over the organization on Radio Row at the Super Bowl, okay, to agreeing to sign and stay for $40 million a year. So that's out the window. I don't want to hear any more about wasting Myles Garrett's career, wasting his time, whatever. He could have gotten out.
Because there's going to be a day where Myles Garrett retires and you're not going to have Myles Garrett anymore, and then maybe you'll have your quarterback with no Myles Garrett.
It's fine, but I don't want to hear anything about wasting his time. He decided to stay, okay? He took his money. They bought him off. They bought his happiness. That is what it is. Arch Manning, in November, we're going to be praying that he is going to come out, that he does have a change of heart. Probably not, but that's what we're going to be doing. He's probably not going to have the change of heart. He's probably going to go back to school in 2026, but we're going to be sitting here praying, oh, please, pretty please, Arch Manning, will you please come out so we can draft you and maybe you can save the franchise, right?
Yeah.
And that is going to be what it's going to be. But I don't want to hear the whole thing about Myles Garrett and we're wasting his career. He had his chance. He had his chance to get out of here and get away from this and go somewhere where he had said repeatedly, right? Browns are in no position to win. I want out of Cleveland. They're not ready, and I want to play in big games. I want to make impacts in big games, and that he stayed. He signed for $40 million a year through the end of the decade.
My gripe isn't at Myles though. It's about the team. You guys brought him back. Get serious about the rest of it so you can win with that dude on your roster.
I have